Hey, how's it going, everyone? And welcome back to Film Forum over here on the FilmSpeak channel. I'm, of course, your host, Griffin Schiller, and Film Forum is the show where we talk about all the latest news in the world of movies, television, all that good stuff. And here at FilmSpeak, we like to say that the conversation continues after the credits. And, of course, this is a great example of that conversation continuing. So if you want to be a part of that community and that conversation, you're definitely in the right place. Consider subscribing to the channel for more insight, analysis, and interviews behind your favorite movies. So we got a lot to sort of run down here. We're going to be talking about the Peacemaker series for sure, coming to HBOMAX with James Gunn directing and John Cena set to star in it. That is the topic of today. But then we're also going to be talking about Zack Snyder reshoots on Justice League, the major Marvel Disney shakeup that is going on. All of our favorite MCU properties are getting pushed back into God knows when, and so much more. So, but I'm not doing this alone. I'm joined, of course, by Kaleena, fellow FilmSpeak contributor and amazing, person in general. Kaleena, how are you doing?
Thank you. What a nice intro. I'm good, Griff. How are you?
I'm all right. It's just a typical Thursday. There's not construction out my window today, so that feels nice.
Yeah.
We don't have to deal with that. But yeah. Anyways, I'm really upset that the embargo has not lifted yet on Trial of the Chicago 7 because I really want to talk about that. That's what we should be talking about right now. But needless to say, we will have thoughts on that later. Right? We're gonna be talking about that later. Yeah, for sure. But let's get into this thing because we have a lot of topics to cover here. So let's start with the Zack Snyder reshoots on Justice League. Something that I think many of us knew was going to happen as soon as they announced that a Snyder cut was going to be released on HBO Max. And so now they're like actually going through with it, and it's going to be happening next month in October. And the big part about this is, we're going to get Henry Cavill back, Ben Affleck back, Gal Gadot back, and all this stuff like that. But we're also going to be getting Ray Fisher back as Cyborg, which is huge because of the whole sort of debacle that's been going on and really injustice towards him that's been going on between Fisher, Whedon, Jeff Johns, and Warner Brothers, and that whole investigation, because it's halted his negotiations for appearing in the Flash movie. But apparently it has no effect on the Snyder Cut, which is good. And I should say this, I'm not really surprised because this is probably something that he would have done for free. Honestly, he's just so passionate about Zack Snyder and his creative vision and whatnot. He's one of the vocal supporters of the movement and everything. And so, like, the fact that he is doing the Snyder Cut instead of the Flash doesn't surprise me. But we're going to be getting, I think, a week long or 2 week long reshoot period here for the Justice League, for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So, Kaleena, I'm going to toss it to you first. What do you kind of make of this whole thing, specifically like the Ray Fisher stuff, and then also 2 weeks of reshoots? That's, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a lot, but also like I feel like they could get a lot done in the span of like 2 weeks. So I don't know, how much do you think we're gonna see reshot?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. I agree that I think the reshoots were inevitable. And I've seen a lot of people online that are like, well, that's not fair. He's basically getting the chance to redo his movie. I think despite what your feelings are towards that movement, his movie was taken from him by circumstances out of his control and circumstances that were unfathomable. And then they were put into the hands of someone who did not have the same creative vision as him. And so regardless of what anyone wants to make of kind of what it rolled into, I think he deserves to finish the movie that he was setting out to make in the first place. And so I'm in favor of the reshoots. 1 to 2 weeks is interesting because entire movies are shot in 3 to 4 weeks. Big movies.
True. Yeah.
Something like Catch Me If You Can, Spielberg's movie, they shot that in like 23 days or something like that. So 14 days, that's a lot of time. Is it different when it's a big budget action CGI heavy movie? Absolutely. Am I very curious about what scenes exactly are going to be shot? Yeah. I did not like Justice League. obviously was just very messy, tonally inconsistent.
It's just bad.
I am not,
Yeah.
I'm not as much involved in the DC film universe to have really been able to pinpoint what was clearly Snyder and what was clearly Whedon. So I don't really have any ideas off the top of my head of what I think should be changed. But I'm glad to hear that the cast is able to come back, especially given the COVID circumstances right now. I personally don't think it's safe to be filming.
Oh,
but,
well,
you know.
that's a whole other conversation that we should definitely have. But yeah.
So, you know, if they can proceed with it, that's great. In terms of the Ray Fisher thing, would you actually mind briefing me? I feel like I'm a little bit underwater with what's going on with that.
Yeah, so basically, like, Ray Fisher brought forth like a bunch of accusations regarding his treatment on set of Justice League from Joss Whedon, from Jeff Johns, and they basically, out of all the cast members, he was treated the poorest. And so he came to Warner Brothers with that, and Warner Brothers was like, okay, we're going to launch an investigation about this matter. And there have been some like discrepancies between what Warner Brothers is saying and what Ray Fisher is saying. Warner Brothers is basically saying, oh, Ray Fisher's being difficult. He doesn't want to work with the investigation. Ray Fisher is posting emails saying, like, that is not true. They did not reach out to me for comment, or I did not feel comfortable like talking about this without consulting my legal team first, or something along those lines. And so there's been this just giant back and forth about like Ray Fisher, seeing justice carried out. And also there were just like some comments made, and I mean, it's just like a really like messy thing that's going on here, and it's not right. And so that's sort of the big thing, is like he was supposed to cameo in the Flash movie along with literally everyone else in Justice League and stuff like that. But now those talks have stalled due to the legal battle, but he is coming back for the reshoots on Zack Snyder's Justice League. So that's sort of where we are right now. Nothing really too much to add to that, other than it's just like a giant, mess.
Sure. And hasn't Jason Momoa like really been actively publicly fighting in Ray's defense during all this?
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely. I mean, Jason Momoa, from the get-go, when Ray was like starting to come out with these things about Joss Whedon and Jeff Johns and stuff like that, Jason Momoa, I think, slid some like sneaky statements in there, basically saying like, yes, he's right, you guys aren't ready for what he's about to do and stuff like that. And then also, like, even going back to the junket interviews, when you could see the way that, like, when people would bring up the reshoots or Joss Whedon or stuff like that, it would be like the way Jason Momoa and Ben Affleck would like look at Ray Fisher during the whole thing. It was just like, clearly something wrong went down here, and everyone is aware of it. So
yeah, I also think it's interesting. That's not an uncommon opinion of Joss Whedon. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't been completely blacklisted at this point, with the amount of shitty and what I assume to be truthful allegations that have come out against him.
Right.
So that immediately inclines me to believe him. Also, just given the treatment of people of color in America right now, regardless of what format that comes in, through job or through society or whatever, I have no reason to doubt that's happening. Having worked on film sets, I have seen the differential in treatment based on your status and the color of your skin and your gender. And it's horrible, and it's a systemic problem. It always has been. And so I completely believe what Ray is saying. Like I said, I knew some of it, but you kind of just filled in the details for me.
Yeah.
I think more power to Jason and anyone else who stands behind him. I think he has every right to be publicly fighting against Warner Brothers. And I had mentioned to you previously in some like reports I had to do for school that Warner Brothers is kind of like in some hot water right now in terms of how they're doing as a studio and financially. And so I think with that in mind, they're probably trying to play their cards really carefully, especially given the social climate. So I think that Ray should continue to do what he's doing, and it'll be really interesting to see if Warner Brothers steps up and does the right thing.
Right. Well, I mean, it's it would be very disheartening if they had it, if justice wasn't seen here, because it's like why would Ray Fisher put all this stuff out on the line, put his career in jeopardy basically to fight something like this, like, unless it was true. It's just like what the fact that it's even up for debate is ridiculous, which I think if you paid close attention to the story, it's clearly not up for debate. Given Joss Whedon's track record, Jeff Johns, his tendency to be, a little bit on a power trip and to be kind of combative and whatnot. And then, just like obviously Joss Whedon, like you bring up that's such a good point. The fact that like he hasn't, that he's still like sort of working in the space, and everyone knows about like the issues that he sort of had, throughout the entirety of his career. I think if the investigation inevitably finds Whedon and Johns in the wrong, which it should, he's done. Like he hasn't done anything. Like okay, yeah, he's a big name in TV. He created Buffy. He directed the Avengers. What has he done since the Avengers? What has he done since the Avengers? It's like he
opened his mouth.
Exactly. People don't want to work with him. And so I feel like he's like since Age of Ultron and the falling out he had with Kevin Feige, clearly this is something that people are aware of and they don't want to collaborate with Joss Whedon. So it's like, add this on top of it and it's like, okay, I think Joss Whedon is officially done. And we shouldn't be giving him projects that we could give to new up and coming filmmakers or other proven voices in the industry that aren't shitty humans,
I agree.
Okay, and oh, whoops, we have Chris from 3C joining us here. Chris, how's it going?
Sorry for coming in late. Just
no, it's all good.
Finish up a video, but I'm here now.
You're okay.
Happy to talk movies with Griffin. I always forget how to say. Is it Kaleena?
Kaleena, yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Boom. There you go. Well, we were sort of wrapping up on the Justice League.
Praising Joss Whedon, I think.
Yeah. How
crazy of a man he is.
Yeah. Right. Crazy Joss Whedon, the Ray Fisher stuff. Yeah. I don't know. Did you have anything to add regarding that, or no?
No, I just think because there was rumblings earlier that because Joss Whedon was starting to show up during premieres of certain Marvel movies that maybe they're going to hand him another film in the slate. And I just don't see that happening. I agree with you guys now. Yeah, after everything that's come out, he's done. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and then Kieran Langer also brings up the other thing that I forgot was like Warner Brothers, like they dropped like a fake news story of Jason Momoa playing Frosty the Snowman to try and distract people when Ray Fisher was like putting out the stuff saying like, hey, these emails they're clearly trying to like they're wrong in what they're saying. I think that particular case was just it was just a matter of poor timing. Like
you think so?
I don't know. I feel like because
it's just weird that Jason Momoa even says that it's fake. So are we not getting this Frosty movie then? Because
no. So the Jason Momoa Frosty the Snowman thing I think is fake, but I do think that the outlet that published the article when they did, it was also just sort of like poor timing. With the Ray Fisher stuff because it was just. It just didn't, I don't know. It just felt like, okay, like it takes a long time to sort of like get the okay and publish a story and all this stuff. They weren't just like, so.
The behind the scenes of that. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it is an interesting thing to sort of entertain because if that did happen, I mean, clearly, Warner Brothers doesn't want like this thing to get any messier than it is, but yet they're making it worse. So.
Yeah, because I don't know how much of you guys were talking about this. Where like they even said in that article that Ray Fisher was offered, just like 3 scenes in the upcoming Flash movie. Right. His team went ahead and countered with wanting double the money for those 3 scenes. They said no, and the next thing you know, Ray Fisher's making allegations. Do you think there's any truth to that? That it's just him talking because he didn't get his solo movie or his scenes? Yeah, I don't think so.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we were just talking about this. The fact that he is putting his career on the line for something like this, for Injustice, shows that it's legit. Like, I can't imagine someone in his position, would just continue to do this. Throw all that, like, understanding, like, the repercussions that sort of come with getting into a legal battle in like the press, and then also just like and all that stuff. So yeah, no, I don't think there's any doubt in it. And then also from what Kaleena was saying just about like the way that film sets work, and like one of the reasons I actually wanted Kaleena's take on this was because I know Kaleena, you had experience firsthand just like working on a film set, the kind of like hierarchy that there is, and like the bad things that go down that they don't want us to know about.
It's a messy business, and there's a lot of stuff that happens even at lower levels. Even when I started out and I was just an extra, people in positions of power that would offer me things in exchange for like sexual favors or something, which I turned down, or I would have people that would then try to get me fired from jobs if I didn't agree to do it. I've had costume designers who have illegally taken my number from my paperwork and asked me out on dates, and then said that they were going to do XYZ if I didn't agree to it, So it's been messy from the beginning, and it affects people at all levels. And so, if it's coming from one of the big stars, believe that happens to them too, because it happens above them and below them.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, guys, so Justice League, we're getting reshoots next October. What do you all make of this? I know it's a messy thing, and the whole Ray Fisher stuff. It's really a shame that it's happening, but unfortunately, that's just the world we live in. But let's get your takes on all of that down in the comment section below. Okay, moving on to the main topic of today, and that is the Suicide Squad spinoff series. Is going to be starring John Cena, and it's going to be a Peacemaker series, and it is going to be directed by James Gunn. All 8 episodes are going to be written and directed by James Gunn. So, and this is official. James Gunn was tweeting about it yesterday. It's coming from Variety and all that stuff. And so basically how this whole thing is going to go down is in between the Suicide Squad and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He's going to do this Peacemaker series, which was everyone's concern, basically. It was like, oh, is this going to affect, what happens with Guardians and whatnot? And James Gunn made it abundantly clear that is not the case. Basically, since we've been under quarantine and lockdown and everything, he just had the time to write. And so he literally wrote a miniseries for this character. And I think he was saying something in his tweets about like Warner Brothers came to him and was like, all right, so if you had to write a series or continue to explore one of the characters in this film, who would it be? And he just said, John Cena. He's like, I had a really great idea for John Cena's Peacemaker. And so... yeah, so that's where we're at right now. I think there were a couple quotes in there from him saying, where is it? John Cena saying, I've said before that it has been a tremendous honor and an incredible opportunity to be a part of the Suicide Squad and to work with James on what is going to be a fantastic movie. I am unbelievably excited to have the chance to team up with him again for Peacemaker. We can't wait for fans to see this. Yeah. So there it is, guys. John Cena is playing, a character who will see justice carried out, no matter what. A true believer and all that stuff like that. So, first of all, what do you guys make of this? And then also, what does this mean for the rest of the Suicide Squad? Does it mean that we might get other spin-offs? Is this just sort of like a wacky one-off sort of thing? Chris, let's start with you. Let's get your take on this whole thing.
It's so unexpected, but I absolutely love it. This isn't something like I thought I needed or wanted, but John Cena, and Cena has this like exaggerated version, as he described as Cap America if he was an a-hole. That sounds perfect for like a series. And like I never saw Blockers, so last night I decided to finally watch it, and John Cena's got great comedic timing. I mean, he might not be the best actor, but he's got really good comedic timing, and they describe this as an action comedy, so that's going to be a lot of fun to see. It also shows Warner Brothers' direction with what they want to do with HBOMAX and how they're just making their big blockbusters spin off these shows in a lot of ways, like Disney Plus is doing with The Mandalorian and those Marvel shows. It's because we have the Batman Gotham show, now we have the Dune show that's a spin-off, and now this Peacemaker show, and there's even rumors that there's going to be a Grindelwald series based off Harry Potter, and that's crazy if they do that. But
Yeah, I heard the rumors about the Harry Potter series because first of all, that's been something that I feel like they should have been exploring for years, like before the Fantastic Beasts films. But then now they're like, oh, we're gonna work on some Harry Potter shows. It's like, oh yeah, no shit, because Fantastic Beasts isn't panning out the way you wanted. But sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good. So I'm all aboard this. I dig it. It's just crazy to me that this whole movie and now spin-off show is possible because one tweet tried to cancel James Gunn, and it led to all this.
That's true. This is very, very true. Yeah, you talk about just like I guess
butterfly
effect. The butterfly effect. You're right, making the best out of just like a horrible situation. But Kaleena, going to you next. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, John Cena's funny, but I feel like Dwayne Johnson is what happens when a wrestler successfully becomes an actor, and I feel like John Cena is what happens when a wrestler shouldn't become an actor. I don't understand why we keep putting John Cena in things. I don't think we need it. I don't think John Cena needs it. I think he just is like, I'm not doing anything for the next 2 months. The Suicide Squad is aside from.
Oh, go ahead. Were you talking about the David Ayer one or the James Gunn one?
No, yeah, I'm talking about the first one, Suicide Squad.
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I believe aside from Cats is the worst movie I've ever seen. So the Suicide Squad means nothing to me. I do not care. I give no shit. I will go see it because I think Margot Robbie's back in it, and I will see any fucking thing that she's in. But when I saw the trailer and I saw John Cena and then the Captain America quote, and I was just like, okay, I already had so many reasons not to give a shit about this. You just gave me so many more. And so the idea that there's going to be a whole series dedicated to him just Cena-ing all over the place, it feels like a lot of things that
I Look, I think I get what you're saying about because I totally agreed with you about John Cena and his ability as an actor. I don't think he's necessarily proven himself, or I did until I saw Blockers and also what the heck was that other Trainwrecked and Trainwrecked. He has really good
Trainwreck. I forgot.
Or Trainwreck, not Trainwrecked. He has really good comedic timing. And I think he's been working and honing on his craft as an actor. And I have to imagine that like someone like that who's like still somewhat malleable in the hands of James Gunn is going to produce like a great performance. Like put it this way, I don't think Warner Brothers would have greenlit this movie if they thought that John Cena wasn't capable of carrying, this series, if they didn't think John Cena was capable of carrying the series on his own. And so I feel like,
I don't know, money makes you do a lot.
Well, that's true, but also why would James Gunn? I'm sure if James Gunn didn't feel like John Cena was good at the role, or that he was like, oh, maybe we made a mistake here with casting, that he would, spend all this time writing an 8-episode series in quarantine. Like, I don't know, that doesn't really track for me, but I do think it is an opportunity for John Cena to show people, similar to how Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did with like the Fast and Furious films. This is an opportunity for John Cena to be like, hey guys, I can do like the action hero, big blockbuster thing, and I'm also funny. So and just given the nature of the character, it's just like he's obviously physically imposing. I think more so than probably some other actors, John Cena can do like caricature tough guy really well, and he can play into the comedy that comes with that sort of thing. And so that paired with the fact that James Gunn is writing and directing all 8 episodes, that's really encouraging to me. So
he's writing them and directing a number of them.
He's directing a number. Okay.
Yeah, probably like the first and last.
I also have I have a weird thing with John Cena that is I've unfairly attached to him. I met him once years ago, and his hands are so soft, and it freaked me out. It terrified me. I was like, "Why? You're a wrestler. Like, how often do you moisturize?"
That is so.
Listen, the man likes good hand care.
And my friend and I got in trouble, and it was too much. And so like every time I see him and I see him being a tough guy, I'm like, but I personally know how soft your hands are. It takes me out of it.
That true. Yeah, very true. Well, listen, the man likes his lotion. He likes to moisturize. There's nothing wrong with that.
That's my hot take of the day.
And
it's probably rubbing all the oil.
Rubbing all the oil over him. Honestly, you know what? You're not wrong. That's very
so far off.
Right. But yeah, okay. Well, I guess moving away sort of from the John Cena side of this and the Peacemaker side of it. I mean, what do you think this means for like the rest of the characters from the Suicide Squad going forward? Do you think that like we will get other sort of spin-offs, or do you think that that sort of kind of could get a little too, it's like, oh, well, everyone who's in this show is going to get their own individual spin-off sort of thing. I don't know. How do you see the precedent? Like what do you see happening going forward with it?
It's hard to say because we don't even know if these are limited series or if they're trying to go full on seasons. Because like we were talking about with the WandaVision show, and I was like, do you think this is like going to have multiple seasons, or it's just going to be like a one and done, couple 6 episodes? So I think it all depends on the budget and how successful they are. But I wouldn't mind if they just throw in people that are going to be in the Suicide Squad, just cameoing or popping up in an episode here and there. Because I mean, this is technically the first TV show that is in this DCEU with, you know, where the Birds of Prey exist and even Ben Affleck's Batman and stuff like that. So I don't know. I would have liked, if it wasn't for John Cena, I would have liked the Polka Dot Man series. I think that would have been a lot of fun. But I guess maybe there's not enough star power in that actor to bring that on.
There's something so ridiculous and absurd about John Cena in this fucking costume. It's like it's too good to not like just have his own spin-off sort of thing. But what did you look it up? Yeah, but anyways, where was I going with that? Yeah, I don't think I would want to see just like every character of the Suicide Squad get their own sort of spin-off, because then it just I don't know, it kind of loses the magic, and it's sort of like, well, certain characters are probably better suited to be incorporated in some of these shows and whatnot. The other thing that's interesting about this is that the show is set to explore the origins of Peacemaker, but James Gunn would not confirm whether or not it is a prequel. And so I think it'll be sort of like a mix of both. Like we'll get some flashbacks, and then it'll sort of be him after the events of Suicide Squad and stuff like that.
There's been set photos where it shows Amanda Waller, Viola Davis's character, like taking Idris Elba and John Cena out of prison. So I bet you more than anything, the show is leading to how he got into prison with like flashbacks to his origin.
Oh, okay, interesting. So he could very well die in the Suicide Squad.
It would make me less excited for the show. I don't like going back to a prequel when I know how the character's end goes, if that makes sense.
That's a good point.
Like Solo.
That's fair. Yeah, that's we don't talk about Solo here. We don't talk about Solo here. Yeah, Kaleena, did you have anything else to add sort of about this?
Like Black Widow, you mean?
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right, fair enough. But anyways, yeah, did you have did you have anything else you wanted to add before we kind of close out this?
I think the only extra thought that I have is I loved Birds of I loved
Wait, hold on. I think you're cutting in and out here real quick.
I loved Birds of Prey, and I think the like bizarre treatment and kind of failed box office that happened to it was really undeserving. And I think that I don't know what it really boiled down to, if it was just the Warner Brothers image or the kind of bizarre name that.
Well, I think you're still cutting it. Yeah, no, you're good. You're just like cutting it out. But
basically, I was just saying, I think Birds of Prey should not. I think that's going to have an effect on whether or not they give other spinoffs.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the thing with Birds of Prey was like it came down to like marketing, it came down to the title, it came down to just like the concept in general is sort of niche. Like not everyone's gonna want to go see like a Harley Quinn film, because I just don't think. I mean, she's a big name. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think like she's as big of a property as Warner Brothers.
I'm gonna try to leave and come back in.
What? Go ahead.
He's gonna leave and come back.
Oh, you're gonna leave and come back? Okay, yeah, that's fine. No worries. We'll get you out of here. Anyways, so yeah, I don't know. Did you have anything else to add about Peacemaker before we move on to the next topic?
No, just seems like it could be fun. Hopefully it works out. It's definitely gonna be R-rated and bloody, so that'll be cool.
Oh God, yeah. That's the thing that I'm excited. Yeah, right. Like give me the R-rated John Cena madness, and I'll be good to go. But guys, the most important thing is, what did you all think, or what do you all think about this Peacemaker series coming to HBO Max, starring John Cena, directed by James Gunn? We want to hear all about it down in the comment section below. All right, moving on to our next topic, which has to do with. Oh God, I didn't want to talk about this. I didn't, but it's just every time it happens, we got to bring it up, and we're getting more delays, guys. More delays. So Disney had a massive shakeup yesterday for their release schedule, and so now Kaleena is back. But also, so Disney had a massive shakeup just regarding, a lot of their properties, the Marvel films, some of their original stuff, so on and so forth. And so I'm just going to kind of run down here, talk about the shakeup, what it could mean going forward for these films, the MCU, so on and so forth. So Black Widow, which was previously set to debut on November 6th of this year, we all sort of speculated something was going to happen with that. It was either going to go to like Disney Plus, or like they were going to delay it again. And needless to say, the returns from Mulan were not promising enough, so that film is getting delayed to May 7th of 2021. So that's a pretty big ways out. Now the next film that was that got delayed here is Death on the Nile, which is the sequel to Murder on the Orient Express, which I know Kaleena has very strong opinions about. So that was originally supposed to come out on October 23rd. That's now getting pushed back to December 18th, 2020 of this year, and we'll see if if that's gonna stay. I mean, again, I think everything is sort of up in the air right now, so that could very well move again. And the big one is that, other than the other MCU things that we haven't gotten to yet, the big one is that West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's first official musical that he's ever done, which is kind of crazy, but he's always wanted to do one. His first official musical and a massive awards contender is getting delayed to December 10th of 2021. So it's getting pushed back an entire year, which is wild. Perhaps they're going to use the time to get rid of Ansel Elgort. Maybe they got a year. So we'll see what happens there. And so now moving on to some of the other projects in the MCU specifically that are getting delayed as well. So Eternals, which was originally supposed to come out this year, obviously was delayed again. And so now it's going to get delayed one more time, and it is officially coming out November 5th of 2021. Originally, like I said, it was supposed to come out in February. That's not the case anymore. So, and it should be noted that I think Kumail Nanjiani was very happy about that, because he has been incredibly vocal about just like us just shutting everything down and doing what's right and not worrying about films playing in theaters and stuff like that. So I think, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a little bit of a say in that. I mean, I think it was going to get delayed regardless, but like, I think, just given his status, he probably kind of nudged them a little bit. But, and then the interesting thing here is Shang-Chi which was originally supposed to come out on Black Widow's date, which is May 7th of 2021. That is now getting pushed to July 9th of 2021. And the interesting thing about that was supposed to come out after Eternals. Now it's coming out before Eternals. So I think it's safe to say that the two have nothing to do with each other, just in case you were thinking that they would have something to do with each other. which I don't think any of us really considered. And then, Deep Water, which was the Ben Affleck and Honor to Armas film that was supposed to come out in November of this year, getting pushed back to August. The Kingsman, this film called The Empty Man, a bunch of others are getting delayed and so on and so forth. So basically, Disney has just like shaken up their theatrical slate again. Yeah. It should be noted that Soul, Pixar's Soul, has not moved. Soul is still set to come out this year theatrically, which is interesting. I'm curious how they're going to do that, if it's going to be like a Disney Plus theater sort of thing. But so there it is. That's the massive shakeup that went down regarding the release dates. We can get into specifics, obviously, a little bit here. But Chris, let's get your take first on this whole thing. Where do you want to start with these shakeups, I guess?
Well, I guess, like you pointed out, I guess this is a sign that the Mulan numbers weren't as strong as they were hoping, or not enough people decided to pay $30 for it. Or else Disney would have said, you know what, we're going to try it out with Black Widow since Mulan did okay. And I think if Mulan did okay, I think Black Widow would have done amazing on that premium charge. But now that they've actually want the theatrical release and they moved it, shows it just wasn't as strong as they were hoping for. And I'm perfectly fine with waiting a little bit longer. It just also kind of sucks that with now a bigger gap of no movies coming out until it looks like December, we were saying when Soul comes out, theaters might have to shut down again, and that's what kind of sucks. And at this point, you have to wonder, does Tenet regret, opening up like this? Because they've set this sort of precedent now where it's like we thought they were going to be able to show us that people will go back to the theaters, everything will be good, but it's just been really slow that it scared all these movies away.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is I know everyone's like, well, No Time to Die is going to move. No Time to Die is not moving. They've already dumped way too much money into 2 marketing campaigns. It would be catastrophic if that film moves. It's coming out in November. They're just going to ride that wave. They'll bite the bullet. They'll do whatever they have to. And here's what I'm going to say before we go into Kaleena. Don't be surprised if Bond 26 is a modestly sized Bond film. No bigger than maybe GoldenEye or something like that.
Which should be the way to go if they're restarting it with a new Bond.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I don't need big, bombastic, Roger Morris Moonraker vibes. Just give me something good. So, but I mean, they literally just dropped an ad today saying, hey, the diver watches, they're on sale today. If that's happening, the film is coming out. So I don't think there's any doubt in my mind regarding that. But yeah, Kaleena, I guess your overall thoughts regarding this massive shakeup from Disney.
First of all, can you hear me? Am I lagged?
I can hear you. You are a little bit lagged, but we'll see how this goes.
Okay, I want to address that you missed an opportunity to say Bond-bastic, and I'm kind of disappointed in you as a friend.
Fuck! Damn it. This is why we need you with good internet connections so that you can
I'm sorry.
So you can do these things. It's okay.
So overall, I don't feel like my opinions are any more special or different than anyone else's on it. I think it's definitely the right move for certain films. I do not understand the full year-long delay for West Side Story. That really surprised me, and that bummed me out for Rachel Zegler, who I think is like on the verge of propelling to insane stardom. And I feel bad that it's going to be so much longer before the world gets to see her. At this point, I would not be mad if they reshot it with Ansel, but at the same time, I feel confident in the story that Spielberg feels he captured before that story came out, and so I'm equally not going to be mad if they leave it as is. I can't believe I don't know this off the top of my head. Is Wonder Woman still slated for this year or no?
Yeah,
yes, in December.
On Christmas, but I mean, again, that could very well change too.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with what y'all are saying, that it is weird that we're gonna just kind of have this gap, but at the same time, this is the new norm. And at this point, I'm thankful that any movie is coming out that I can go see in theaters, even these smaller independent ones, because I am in a city where we can have theaters open, which absolutely puts me in a place of privilege. And so knowing that I'm in that position, I want to be able to give money to them and go support the theaters so we can try to keep them open once it's safer for mass audiences to go.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you there. I think where I struggle with is with some of these properties. Let's again go back to Black Widow. Why? First of all, I think that testing this sort of thing with Mulan was a mistake. That film had so much just baggage already prior to coming out that I think it was never going to do as good as they thought it was going to. If they really wanted to test the waters with that whole Premiere Access thing, Black Widow would have been the film to do it. Like, it's a Marvel film that doesn't, I mean, obviously I'm sure it'll plant seeds for stuff that's going to happen in the future, but it takes place in the past. It's closing the door on Natasha's story while opening the door for Florence Pugh's story, and all that stuff. And obviously it's going to tie into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is why I think they keep pushing both of those things back. So, and it's a Marvel property, which people obviously flock to go see. So if you offered them an opportunity to do the Premiere Access thing, $30, you get to watch this movie as many times as you want on Disney Plus, I feel like their numbers would have been more impressive than what they got with with Mulan. Plus, I also think that they should have considered an option of theatrical release where you can, and then also a Disney Plus release, something like that would have been like a mix of the two. It's something that I'm really confused why studios aren't considering. I don't know. Like, do you guys have any thoughts on why maybe they're not considering doing a theatrical release paired with the digital thing or whatnot?
I think that has to do more.
Go ahead,
Kaleena. Sorry. I think it's just a good theater relationship. I feel like there'd be some bad blood if they went ahead and do that. I mean, we saw AMC, say they were going to ban Universal if they went ahead and did that same sort of thing. And Disney's kind of shown a different path with wanting to be a little compassionate with theaters, other than the way they did Mulan. But we were told they still talked to theaters before they made that decision with Mulan. So I just feel like that's the only reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess my other thing is if the future of the MCU is on Disney Plus and streaming and all that sort of stuff, obviously they'll have tentpole films and whatnot. Wouldn't it be a nice sort of just opening for this whole thing if Black Widow went to Disney Plus? And it was hey guys, we're going to start this new chapter and it's going to be on this platform. We're going to be getting Falcon and the Winter Soldier at this point. We're going to be getting WandaVision at this point. We're going to be getting this Loki series, She-Hulk, all this stuff that's going on to Disney Plus. Black Widow is the film that sort of opens, the door for all of that. So that's another reason why I'm well, why didn't you at least try to do something with that? I don't know. I mean, I understand they dumped a lot of money into it, but I don't know. Kaleena, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I understand both sides of it. I had that same thought process with putting Black Widow on Disney Plus, but then selfishly as an audience member, superhero movies and the noise, the sound experience that comes with it is something that I don't want to compromise on. And so I wanted it to get its fair turn in theaters as well. And also the angsty feminist part of me that's she should have gotten her movie forever ago. I want it to be in every theater, and I want everyone to come see it. But in terms of logistics, I think that would have been a perfectly good segue into what Disney Plus is trying to do. I also think that it's a money thing. Unfortunately, I think it's a big business thing. I think if you look at what I was referring to as the Tenet problem, is when you're looking at the box office numbers for Tenet, those aren't real box office numbers. They're COVID box office numbers. They're major cities in our country don't have theaters open numbers. And so I think a lot of studios don't want to put in all that expense to put it into a theater, knowing they're not going to receive that revenue back, knowing there's going to be guest, audience pushback. I think it's messy business wise, and I have some sympathy for it because I get it. But I think then there's other films that have also been really successful going on streaming. And I know that a lot of people have been really happy to have that opportunity. So I think there should be a little bit more of a compromise, like what Chicago 7 is doing, where Netflix is putting it in the select theaters starting, I believe, next week. And then it'll be on Netflix October 16th. And I know that's a Netflix thing, but I think other studios can kind of take advantage of that.
Yeah, little did we know that Netflix was ahead of the curve with their whole release schedule of just like doing like a couple of week long theatrical run and then boom, hitting their platform, which I think is what honestly all of these studios should be considering right now. And again, Netflix is like, they're fucking killing it with all of their films this year. And I think what I like most about it is that they're introducing larger audiences to, you know, more thoughtful films, not necessarily like indie per se, but like more prestige pictures and like dramas that they probably wouldn't have considered seeing otherwise, like The Devil All the Time. I wonder how well that film would have done if we weren't in this sort of pandemic thing. I mean, obviously you have the whole Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson thing that's going to draw people in there, but I mean, it's not like the most accessible movie to like a general audience, so I think it's pretty bold that it's
illusions.
Yeah, right, of course. It's just like I think it's pretty great that it's doing as well as it is. But yeah, I guess as it pertains to the MCU, how do you think this is going to affect things? I mean, obviously, this is the first year we're not getting a Marvel movie in theaters or an MCU film in theaters since 2009. We're getting WandaVision, but that's going on to Disney Plus, and it's a series. So I don't know. Are you guys okay with that year-long break? Obviously, even if it wasn't intended. And do you? I don't know. Like, how do you think this is going to affect the MCU going forward?
I'm fine with the year-long break. And to me, it was just more shocking that it's like, wow, I didn't realize that they had a movie every year since 2009 when the MCU began in 2008. Like, that's just, they even when they started, they were still continuously making movies. So that's wild. The break is fine. It'll create some anticipation and hype for when they finally can get a movie in theaters. I think the future of the MCU is just what's going to be the future for a lot of Hollywood, where they have to go back to lower budgets with higher concepts, which is basically the Blumhouse model, where they're going to have to just, and for the time being, because I don't think things are going to go back to normal come January 2021 like everyone hopes, where people can just go to the theaters and it'll be a packed house. We're still going to have social distancing well into 2021, I believe, and it's just going to lead to studios, one, they're not earning so much money, so they have to put out films with low budgets, but that possibly can make the money in this climate.
Yeah, Kaleena?
Yeah, I agree. I also think a year-long break will be good. I think that the MCU kind of suffers from the same fever that Star Wars does, where it's just overexposure and there's too much content, and you kind of pair that with like the general pandemonium of the MCU, and it's just around you all the time. And I love the MCU. Yeah. I'm not complaining, but I think that it can be really competitive for other films to constantly have that kind of over their heads. And so I think it'll also be nice, especially given the pandemic, to give these more thoughtful films like you're talking about a chance to maybe do a little bit better than they would if they were overshadowed by these big swinging movies.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with all of you.
Yeah, because both Ben Affleck and Seth Rogen like came out and said, you know, it's kind of hard to make our little movies when everyone expects comedies to be $200 million budgets with like these Marvel films, and Ben Affleck even saying the future of his smaller movies like The Town would just end up straight on Netflix now instead of going to theaters.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It is like it's an indie film market right now, where like if you have a modest budget and you come to a studio and you're like, hey, I can shoot this in like a single location or in like a location that's like pretty small, and we can do it for this amount of money and it's like pretty modest. I think studios are going to be more willing to greenlight it because they can't really do anything with these massive movies. Like they can't put them in theaters. They can't, I mean, they're starting production on them, but I mean, for how long? So if you do these smaller projects, which are a little less risky and also, not much of a financial risk either, I think the gain will be substantial. So yeah, that's a good point that I think, it's the one good thing to come out of this whole mess is that we're going to be getting more original, modest budget films and whatnot. Well, here's the other thing that I want to bring up about the whole like theaters and box office thing. Do you think that the studios? Do you think that the studios were too reactionary to Tenet's performance? Because I understand that they have to recuperate money and they have to do all this stuff, but like the film is going to be playing in theaters until the end of time, basically. Like I don't imagine them taking that thing out anytime soon. And so we'll have time to recuperate that money. It'll just be over a longer period of time. And also you have to take into consideration the fact that New York and LA, those markets are not open, and those are massive movie money-making markets for the entertainment industry. And so taking that into account, I don't think Tenet really did all that bad. And also, it was never going to be the movie that like brought people back to the theaters just because it's a high concept Christopher Nolan film. Those movies do really, really well, but they never do the profits. They never do gangbusters. They never do the stuff that like I don't know, like a typical comic book film does. So I don't know, Kaleena, starting with you, do you think that maybe they judged Tenet's performance too harshly?
Oh, definitely. And I think again, I think Nolan kind of buried himself halfway in the ground before the movie even came out by just kind of saying things that he maybe should have just kept under his tongue, at least until the film came out. And so I think people were already ready to be like preemptively critical about him and the film. And, you know, despite my personal feelings on it, I do think that it is a good film that a lot of people can enjoy going to see. And if people feel comfortable and have the right circumstance, I'm glad that Tenet is out there for people right now. And so, yeah, I definitely feel that a lot of the wrath coming from other studios, I think, is just because he kind of made a plan and he stuck with it and he did it, and they haven't. And I think it's a little bit of jealousy, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Well, and also there's an interesting comment here from Pierre Perra, who's saying in the Netherlands, Tenet was Nolan's highest grossing movie. So it's like, it's doing like, and I mean, I guess when nothing else is in the theaters, that sort of helps, but it's doing decently well, like overseas, which bodes well for Bond for sure. But like, so I don't know, Chris, what do you make of the whole response to Tenet?
Yeah, I think you're right where you were saying in pre-COVID times, even the Christopher Nolans wouldn't do gangbusters, but they would have legs, and that's what would make them successful. And we're kind of seeing that, you know, because they're going to give it a long gap where it's got all this open space, it can collect all this money, and that's where I think the theaters needed to pay more attention to, especially when coming into 2021, because now 2021 is just so packed with big movie after big movie scheduled right now to come out every other week. I mean, with the Black Widow movie, it puts it like a week or two in front of Godzilla versus Kong. And with the way COVID is going and needing that space, it just doesn't make sense to have that many big movies coming after one another. So I think even when everything settles into normal, these films still have to space out apart from each other just so that they can gain a little bit of that money.
Yeah.
I just want to say that next year's, like, the 2022 ceremony of the Academy Awards are going to be fucking bananas.
Yeah, right. It's going to be weird. Yeah.
There's going to be like 20 Best Picture nominations. I think they're going to have to double all the categories.
Right. Well, that's the other thing to consider is some of these movies that think they have a shot at Best Picture, are they going to delay longer so that, you know, they're competing in a less crowded market for that sort of thing? That's why I think
going to Chicago 7 this year.
I fucking hope so. It should. The thing is the makings of a Best Picture in it, which we'll talk about later today. But yeah, anyways, guys, that's so those are the delays. Let's hear your thoughts and opinions on it down in the comment section below. Do you think it was the best move for Disney? Do you think maybe they should have dropped Black Widow on Disney Plus? All that sort of stuff. Let's have a great discussion down in the comment section below. Okay, moving on to our final topic of today, and I just threw this one in here because it really upset me. It was a bummer, but this was basically an exclusive from Collider. Steve Weintraub over there was interviewing Jason Reed, who was one of the I think executive producers or the production executive for Disney on the National Treasure films. And basically, he explained why a National Treasure 3 didn't happen. And it's really, really disheartening. And it kind of boils down to the fact that it didn't have franchise potential. Disney didn't know how they could integrate it into like products, their amusement parks, and all that stuff. And so I think the quote here says from Reed, they never figured out a way to integrate it into the parks. and then he continues saying that it never caught on, even though there were a lot of consumer products, it never caught on as an independent franchise. That makes the numbers look different. Obviously referring to the National Treasure's box office returns. It makes it harder to make a company like Disney focus resources on something when they can go make Toy Story or buy a cruise ship. And if the company itself had been really excited about moving forward with it and thought they could blow it out, we would have found a way to make the deal. So that's basically why we never got a National Treasure 3, which is, man, that's a bummer, because I thoroughly enjoyed both of those films. I thought it was kind of like a nice spin on the adventure movie. I thought it, I mean, you know, whether or not it was true or not, I think it did a good job of introducing young kids to American history and like getting them excited about going to places like the National Archives or whatnot. So I don't know. That was just like, it was a bummer for you know, me to hear that. But anyways, Kaleena, did you have any thoughts on that at all or anything?
So I've actually never seen the National Treasure movie.
What? Get out of here.
Sorry.
Oh, come on.
The only thing I know about them is from like Andy Samberg playing Nicolas Cage on SNL and talking about he's gonna fuck the Statue of Liberty or whatever. But hearing
he did do that in the movie. He did do that.
Yeah, that's what you should watch.
Hearing what you said about it, just the fact that like Disney couldn't figure out how to put it into the parks, that quote is really upsetting. And also, from what I understand to be the concept of the movie, I feel like that would be a very easy thing to integrate into the park, like to make it a ride or something for kids. And that is so frustrating to be reminded that Disney is a business before anything, and they're looking to make money before anything. And so I don't know the numbers of the franchise or like what audience reception was to it. I'm somehow completely blind to this entire existence. But if it was well received and people wanted more, and the only reason it didn't happen is because Disney couldn't figure out just how many Nicolas Cage action figures they would be able to make, I think that's horrible, and they should be shunned.
Well put. Chris, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, it kind of sucks, and also ironic because isn't there supposed to be some sort of Disney Plus series in the works now for them? I don't know if it's a movie or a show.
Jerry Bruckheimer, I think he's working on a sequel or like a spinoff series for Disney Plus or something like that. Which I guess now with a streaming service they can afford to do something like National Treasure on there, which is a shame because that's like it just feels like all the original ideas, the stuff that Disney would have taken a chance on, the risks on, are now just being relegated to streaming. Even before COVID and stuff, but.
Yeah, because it feels like every now and then Disney does these like one-off spin-off movies that are kind of different, Like I know Artemis Fowl is based on an IP, but like in that kind of Wrinkle in Time or Land of Tomorrow things, and like those didn't seem to be huge successes for them, but they found some moderate success in the National Treasure movies, so enough to make a sequel and possibly a third movie. So it was just weird that was all just because they couldn't make it a Disney ride or figure out how to make more money off of them. Also, like Indiana Jones ride, like it wouldn't be that hard to do something like that.
I mean, it really wouldn't. Also, the other thing that I think he said in the interview that was really interesting was like now with like the opportunities that something like a Pokemon Go has afforded them, they could create an app or something like that where people could go to the locations that Ben did in the film and like use the app to make it more of an integrated experience. Like I don't know, like that's genius, because I think that would really catch on, especially if the film. Like if the film's like continue to be successful and whatnot. But it is a bummer because we never got that third film, it's almost like the first movie was a beloved movie that just got a sequel and then they just gave up on it. Because it's not like the sequel was awful or like poorly received. I think it was about as well received as the first one. But it just like the way it sort of happens, it's like, oh, the sequel sucks, and so now we're just not going to continue with the franchise.
This is how Tom Cruise feels about The Mummy and the Dark Universe.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that Mummy movie.
R.I.P. The Dark Universe. I was so on board for that. Universal
I was too.
Like, just kidding.
No, honestly, like. listen, this is gonna sound weird. I actually like the Tom Cruise Mummy. Like, I don't think it was bad.
Me too.
It's fun.
It has
like, it's
Jake Johnson, okay?
Yeah, I do like him.
Okay, but Jake Johnson is like a dead, like, weird manifestation of like Tom Cruise's like mind. Like, it's okay. That was weird. I didn't like what they did with the character, but I still like the movie. I thought it was like, I have seen worse films. When something like The Mummy 2 exists, which is like the CGI Dwayne Johnson and the ridiculousness, like, I don't know. I think that I would prefer to watch the Tom Cruise Mummy over that film,
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, guys, so any final thoughts on National Treasure 3? Are you going to go watch National Treasure now?
I pinky promise.
Can you please, so that you can finally understand? I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Outside of SNL, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that's there you go, guys. Feel free to let us know your thoughts and opinions on the fact that National Treasure 3 never happened because they couldn't sell McDonald's toys off of it. So let us know your thoughts and opinions on that down in the comments section below. And I think that's going to do it for today's show. So those are all the topics. Kaleena has to get the hell out of here because she's on her lunch break. And I've taken up way too much of Chris's time. You can see he's getting bored with me. No, I'm just kidding. So thank you all for tuning into this episode of Film Forum and participating in the chat and all the good stuff. Kaleena, Chris, thank you for joining me. Kaleena, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Shut Up Kaleena across social, and keep up with us on FilmSpeak because we just keep doing fun shit over there.
Yeah, hopefully we get an interview with Aaron Sorkin. That I don't know. Maybe we'll cross our fingers. But anyways, Chris, where can everyone find you?
You guys can find me at youtube.com/3cfilms or on Twitter at 3cfilmreview. Appreciate you having me on, Griff.
I appreciate you coming on. So, yeah, if you haven't done so already, be sure to like this video, share with your friends if you feel so inclined, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss another episode of Film Forum, which is our news show that we do every Tuesday and Thursday here on the FilmSpeak channel. So if you want to engage in that conversation and whatnot, you're definitely in the right place. And then if you feel so inclined, you can also like FilmSpeak on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, just search FilmSpeak. And lastly, if you like me specifically and you like what I have to say, you can give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning into this episode, and we will catch you next time. Take care.